Hi, good evening. This is Wendy from Dallas, and I thought it was a great opportunity to share some of my recipes with my family and friends and anyone else watching. With the pandemic and the need to be indoors a lot these days, I thought it was a great opportunity to highlight some of my recipes that you've enjoyed through the years. And this happens to be one of my favorite. It's my oatmeal muffin recipe. I try to bake and cook a little bit on the healthier side if I can, without losing the flavor of the dish or the baked item. So my oatmeal muffin recipe is low sodium, it's low cholesterol, as well as low fat. So it's a really nice recipe that I thought you would really enjoy. And if you're like me, where in the normal mode of my lifestyle, I'm on the go a lot, this recipe, these are great to take on the go with you, and you can wrap them and take them with you if you travel overnight. They're great for overnight travel, but they're certainly something that I take when I go out and throughout the day, and it's something that I can enjoy that's also kind of guilt-free. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll start off. You always start out with your wet ingredients on this recipe, so I'll start out with those. You use 1 cup of applesauce, and make sure it is unsweetened so that you don't add any extra sugars that you don't need in your diet. So this is 1 cup of applesauce, natural, unsweetened. So you'll find you add that, and then what you do is next, so that was 1 cup of applesauce, and I'll also post the recipe for you as well. And then you have 1/2 cup that you add of skim milk, and I happen to use organic, but you don't have to use organic. But I think organic is certainly healthier for you to use. And then vegetable oil. I actually substitute the vegetable oil in the recipe for canola oil. So I would use canola oil. It's a heart-healthy oil, so that is what I use. And the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of the canola oil. It's exciting to be able to show you and share a recipe with you because through the years I've had friends who have asked me to share some of my recipes, and I just haven't, and now is a really nice opportunity because I thought if you're indoors a lot and you want new recipes or new ideas to share with your family and bring recipes into your home, I thought this was a great opportunity. The next would be 1 egg. So the entire recipe, that's why I said it is pretty low cholesterol. The entire recipe only has 1 egg. So add your egg. I use organic, but you can certainly use any eggs. So what you do is you stir the wet ingredients. So make sure you stir this very well. Incorporate the egg and make sure your egg and oil and the applesauce is very well incorporated together. So make sure you mix that very well to where you don't see any separation. And as long as you don't see any separation, you've mixed it very well. And this is quite an easy recipe to make. It was one of the reasons that I wanted to share it with you because this is a very simple recipe. But it's very healthy. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it makes 12 muffins, and so it's a nice recipe for someone that doesn't have a whole lot of time, but wants to make something that's pretty healthy for your entire family. Okay, so that's mixed well together. And then we turn to our dry ingredients. So 1.5 cups of oats. So you want to use quick oats. I would use the quick oats because they're a little bit smaller, but they work very well for these muffins. So add your quick oats, and then 1 1/4 cups of whole wheat flour. So I highly recommend the whole wheat instead of the white flour because the whole wheat is certainly much healthier for you to use when you can, and it gives you some fiber, right? So in addition to the oats, you have that fiber, and it keeps the cholesterol and the carbs are a little less too. And then we will add some cinnamon. One of my favorite additions to any baked item is cinnamon. So add 3/4 of a teaspoon of the cinnamon. And you can't go wrong if you really like cinnamon and you want to add just a little extra, then you can do that. That won't ruin the recipe in any way. And then after the cinnamon, you want to put in your baking powder. So this is 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And baking really is, it's really a science. So I love cooking and I love baking, but I've been told that I'm good at both, to be honest. But I enjoy baking a lot, so I really enjoy it. But it is true that when you're measuring out ingredients, one of the best things or most important things that you can do is to make sure that you do measure properly. Make sure that you don't go overboard on anything or get a little bit uneven with your ingredients, because it certainly on some of the ingredients it'll really make a difference, especially on baking powder and baking soda and any oils that you add, any moisture. So 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, I'm going to put that in. Okay. And then the last ingredient is 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So take your you grab a spoon here really quick. And so all you need for this recipe, you just need a teaspoon, a tablespoon, 3/4 teaspoon, and a couple of measuring cups, and 2 spoons, and a medium to large size bowl is all you need for this recipe. So you have a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So as you notice, if you're someone who bakes a lot or cooks, but especially baking, then you would know that a 1/2 cup of sugar is not a lot of sugar in 12 muffins. If you were making 12 muffins in a lot of other recipes, you'd be looking at about 3/4 to a cup of sugar. But in this one, you're only using only the 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So that's why I said it's pretty healthy, on the healthier side as far as your sugar. Okay. So then you take these ingredients you've added to mixing the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients, and make sure you really incorporate that well. What's nice about this recipe is you also don't have to use your mixer. Like you'd mix it together even without a mixer. And so before I start, I usually prepare my pan before I even start, just so that I have it ready to go, so that when I'm finished mixing everything together, I'm ready to fill the muffin cups and pretty ready to go. So on this recipe, you never want to over mix muffins. You don't want to over mix them, but you certainly do want to make sure that everything is well incorporated and you don't see any applesauce or any of the dry ingredients should not be visible as dry. They should be mixed into the recipe. So you make sure it's really well mixed, and especially so that your baking soda and your baking powder is well mixed, is mixed in well, so that each muffin, right, has that. But on muffins, a lot of times I also make banana muffins. Maybe I'll make those for you next sometime. And those, you don't want to mix them too much. So here you can see you have the oatmeal and everything mixed together really well. So once you mix everything together, it even looks healthy. But these really are delicious muffins. They stay very moist. What I recommend is that after you make the muffins, you let them cool fully, And you can wrap them in either plastic wrap, saran wrap, or you can wrap each one in, you can also use some foil. If you don't want to use plastic, you can use some foil. But you mix everything together, and once you have done that, then you bring the ingredients over and you start filling your pan. And with any muffin recipe, usually, depending on how much they will rise, you want to fill your pan about, with these, I would say you want to do about half to really maybe even 2/3, right? 2/3 of the muffin cup, so that you are filling it not to the top because you want to leave room for them to rise and have enough room. Another thing that you can do with these muffins, which is really a nice addition if you like walnuts or you like pecans, or believe it or not, if you're one that likes raisins, then raisins go well in these too. If you're an oatmeal raisin type person and if you really like raisins in your muffins, then you'd like that. You could probably also add small pieces of chunks of pineapple if you wanted to make it into, but just make sure that the pineapple isn't too moist. If you add pineapple, you need to make sure it isn't too moist, for the recipe. So what you do is fill these. All the way until you have each one, and then these bake approximately 18 to 20 minutes. So they're ready pretty quickly, and they're really healthy. They're a touch of sweet with the brown sugar, so you can taste that. But if you're one that doesn't like things too sweet, then these would really be something you would enjoy. If you like oatmeal, then these are certainly. But as you notice, the applesauce replaces more egg or more oil or anything kind of unhealthy, or butter, something to moisten this recipe. The applesauce really does that for you without adding fat, a lot of extra unnecessary fat to the recipe. So the applesauce really is what keeps them healthy as well, along with the whole wheat flour and and just one egg. So when you combine that together, then that really keeps this on the lighter side for you, calorie-wise as well. And they're very filling. So when you wrap the muffins and take them on the go with you, they're really nice. The day that you make them, once you bring them out of the oven, they have just a little bit of a little bit of, I guess when you have toasted bread, you'll taste that kind of toastiness to the top of the muffin. But once you wrap them and take them on the go with you, so right away in the morning, after you wrap them and you have them in the morning, you'll notice that they're just really moist, and they're great. You just pull one out, take it with you, and they freeze very well. By the way, if you don't have a lot of people in your household that would eat these, and you kind of just make them for yourself, they freeze very well, and they refrigerate well. So you can refrigerate up to several days. But I would say if you're going to keep them over 3 days, then I would recommend that you freeze them and take them out as you plan to have them. But you can take them out of the freezer and on the go with you that day, and they'll be within a half hour or 45 minutes. The muffins will be where you can eat them. They'll be at room temperature or chilled, but at pretty much close to room temperature. So it's a great recipe, and I really hope you enjoy it. We're pretty much down to the end here where we can put these in the oven, and they'll go in the oven on, let's see, 400, I believe, yes, 400 degrees, again, depending on your oven, for 20 minutes. But if I were you, I would check the muffins. You always want to check your baked items, your baked goods. I would definitely check them as you get closer to to around 18 minutes, just to make sure. You certainly don't want to burn anything that you make. You also can make these in mini muffins. Same thing, bake them at 400 degrees in the little mini muffin pans, but you bake those for anywhere from 13 to 15 minutes. They call for 15, but again, I always check everything a couple of minutes before the recipe says they should be done, just so that you don't have any risk for them to burn. So thank you so much. I'm about to put these into the oven, and then they'll be done in about 18 to 20 minutes. So I'll see you next time. Next time I'll pick some other recipe of mine to make, and I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make this recipe. I will post it with the video, and it's healthy and a great way to start your day. Thank you, or snack in the afternoon or evening. So have a good rest of the day, and thank you for joining me. Thanks. Bye.